A new colleague who had studied abroad joined our company. She was beautiful but still unfamiliar with the job. As I was teaching her at her computer, a message popped up on her WeChat.
Emily, can we meet tonight? I was too abrupt the other day.
The beautiful colleague, Emily, gave me an embarrassed smile and quickly exited her personal WeChat. I was stunned because the profile picture and nickname were identical to my boyfriend of 5 years, David.
The other day? It had rained heavily when I left work, and I had called David 12 times to ask him to pick me up since I didn't have an umbrella. His phone was constantly busy. I couldn't tell if he was really on a call or just repeatedly hanging up on me. I ran home in the rain and developed a high fever.
2 or 3 hours later, David messaged Emma saying he had work to do and wouldn't be coming home.
Despite my fever making it hard to see, I replied, telling him to take care of himself. A woman's intuition is usually spot on. It seemed he did need to take care of himself, but not because of work, because of Emily.
As Emma was about to leave work, she received a message from David.
Emma, I might be home late tonight. I don't know how long I'll have to work. You should rest first.
Even though I had prepared myself mentally, seeing the message still hurt.
David and Emma had been together for 5 years. Though not a relationship that drew envy, Emma always believed they loved and trusted each other and were on a reliable path to marriage. Lately, she had even been thinking about planning their wedding. Little did she know, while she was planning their future, he was planning his departure.
I need to find out the truth.
Emma followed Emily's car after work, leading her to a high-end restaurant.
I had wanted to visit this restaurant for my birthday last year, but David said it wasn't worth spending that much money for a birthday. He ended up buying a cake and a bouquet of roses, which made me happy, though I felt a bit disappointed.
And now, for just a casual meeting, David had chosen this restaurant? It was June, but Emma felt a chill in her heart. She watched Emily sit across from David, smiling. Emma found a spot where they couldn't see her and observed them chatting, laughing, and holding hands as they left. When they got up to leave, Emma confronted them.
Aren't you going to explain?
David instinctively shielded Emily behind him.
Emma, are you following me?
If I didn't follow you, how would I know you were being unfaithful? Is this what you call working late? Working at a restaurant? Are you planning to continue working at a hotel later?
David let go of Emily's hand and reached for Emma's.
Emma, it's not what you think. Don't say such harsh things. Emily just returned from abroad, and we were catching up. Please, don't make a scene. Let's talk at home.
Making a scene? Holding hands is catching up. Stating the facts is making a scene?
Emma didn't want to argue with them any longer. She shook off David's hand and drove. Emma remembered the first day she met David vividly.
Sniffling, I just missed out on a guaranteed graduate school spot by 1 point.
She pretended to be fine in front of others, but she cried her heart out on the playground until David handed her a tissue.
Gently, here, take this.
In that moment of deep sadness, she saw a handsome and aloof young man. From that day on, Emma started to like David.
Thoughtfully, David didn't like me back, but he didn't reject my advances either.
He would read the notes she copied for him, eat the breakfast she brought, and even took the internship she found for him at her dad's company.
I was willing to do anything for him because I liked him so much. I felt that as long as I could be with him, nothing else mattered.
Perhaps the heavens heard her plea, and one day, David finally accepted her confession.
Excitedly, we started doing things that normal couples do, watching movies, dining out, traveling together.
For 5 years, Emma felt like the happiest woman in the world.
Smiling, David's gaze towards me grew more tender, and sometimes he would get jealous when other guys pursued me.
Emma believed it was a sign of his love for her. Until today, her fantasy was finally shattered. She packed her bags and decided to stay with her parents for a while.
Sadly, this house was bought entirely with my money, and it was under my name. But I don't want to see David anymore, nor be reminded of the time I joyfully decorated and designed the house by myself.
Dragging her suitcase, she took one last deep look at the house she had lived in for 3 years and left.
Tearfully, Dad had never approved of my relationship with David, but he didn't say much because I liked him. He even arranged an internship for David and promoted him after he became a full-time employee.
Emma told her parents about David's infidelity. As expected, her dad was furious.
Angrily, how dare he mistreat our daughter? Is he out of his mind?
Firmly, Dad, please don't worry. This time, I want to handle it myself.
Her dad agreed indulgently, patting her head, though a flash of sternness crossed his eyes. The next morning, as Emma came downstairs for breakfast, her parents had already left. Instead, she saw a mature and handsome young man cooking.
Smiling, Emily, eat up.
Emma finally recognized his face, slowly matching it with her memories.
Surprised, Andrew, it's been so long.
Andrew was her childhood friend, but after he went abroad for college, their contact gradually lessened. It had been a long time since they last saw each other. After getting together with David, Emma prioritized him in everything and neglected her own social circle.
Nostalgically, Andrew, you still remember my favorite breakfast.
Andrew had learned to make beef noodles from their housekeeper just for Emma. But David was allergic to beef, so she had gradually stopped eating beef noodles. As she slowly ate the noodles, tears started streaming down her face.
Panicking, Emily, what's wrong? Here, take some tissues.
Seeing her cry, the usually composed Andrew clumsily handed her tissues and tried to comfort her. His anxious demeanor made Emma smile through her tears.
Smiling through tears, thank you, Andrew.
This time, she felt Andrew had changed. His gaze towards her was not just filled with the usual affection but also a suppressed emotion. Emma took the morning off, but decided to go to work in the afternoon. Andrew offered to drive her, and she readily agreed.
Cheerfully, let's get you to the office. Don't worry, everything will be fine.
On the way, he tried his best to cheer her up. By the time they reached the office, Emma was feeling much better. As she got out of the car, she saw a familiar figure, David.
Frowning, Emma, who is he? Why are you coming to work in another man's car? We haven't broken up yet.
Sneering, Andrew just returned from abroad. We were catching up. Can you stop making a fuss?
She threw his words from yesterday right back at him. David realized his mistake and softened his tone.
Softly, I called you, but you didn't answer. I sent messages, but you didn't reply. So I came to find you. Are you okay?
A wave of emotions surged within Emma. In the past, whenever they argued, she was always the one to apologize first. She had hoped countless times that David would come to her and apologize, even say a few soft words, but it never happened.
Apologetically, about yesterday, I'm sorry. But there's really nothing between me and Sarah. She just started at your company. Please don't make things difficult for her, okay?
Firmly, coming to apologize to your girlfriend just to speak for another woman, and doubting she would make things difficult for someone else, this is the boyfriend you chose? Since when did our Emma have such poor judgment?
David's face grew darker. Andrew shielded Emma as they walked into the office, leaving David outside. He called her name a few times, but she didn't look back. Andrew escorted her to her desk, and her face grew redder until Sarah walked over and greeted him.
Surprised, what a coincidence, Senior.
My heart sank. How could she know Andrew?
Sorry, you are?
Sarah's face turned a mix of green and red, but she quickly regained her composure.
We went to the same school. Don't you remember, Senior? We even participated in the school's badminton tournament together. You were the men's singles champion, and I was the mixed doubles runner-up.
Andrew suddenly realized.
Oh, you're that junior who kept holding back the team, causing our champion Xiaoming to only get second place.
Even someone as thick-skinned as Sarah couldn't take such a comment. Her face turned pale, and she forced a smile before walking away. The afternoon class hadn't started yet when Andrew pulled me into the hallway.
This Sarah is not simple. Be careful around her.
I nodded, about to speak, when we heard voices from the staircase below. I saw Sarah standing opposite a very familiar figure. Andrew pulled me to the side, ensuring they couldn't see us.
David, it's all my fault for causing this misunderstanding. Let me explain to Emma. She won't be unreasonable.
David was silent for a moment, then patted her shoulder.
Don't worry about it. I'll handle it. You've just joined this company, don't let us affect you.
Listening to my boyfriend of 5 years wholeheartedly consider another woman, my heart felt like it had been doused with a bucket of ice water, despite the scorching June heat.
David, did you get together with Emma right after we broke up, because I went abroad 5 years ago?
Sarah's words felt like a knife to my heart. So, it was because Sarah went abroad that they broke up, and he agreed to be with me? David was silent for a long time before saying,
Yes. At that time, I thought if I couldn't be with you, it didn't matter who I was with. Emma was good to me, so I got together with her.
I slowly closed my eyes, and Andrew patted my back to comfort me. When I opened my eyes, I realized we were standing too close. Blushing, I took a step back and made a decision. I walked downstairs and looked at David's face. Surprisingly, my heart was calm.
Let's break up.
David's face changed, showing embarrassment, anger, disbelief. Various emotions flashed across his face. Finally, he looked into my eyes and asked,
Are you sure you want to break up with me?
I don't need a boyfriend who is entangled with another woman.
I turned to leave but was suddenly grabbed by the arm. It was Sarah, tears in her eyes.
Emma, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Don't blame David. I won't bother you anymore. Please don't argue because of me, okay?
Instinctively, I gently shook off her hand, and she fell to the ground. Before I could explain, David quickly stepped forward to help her up, looking at me reproachfully.
Emma, there was no need to push her.
I was speechless. How could he believe such an act? It seemed I had overestimated David's intelligence all these years. Andrew walked down the stairs, stood beside me, and put his arm around my shoulder.
There are cameras. Anyone can see for themselves whether Emma pushed her or if someone is acting.
David's face turned dark, and Andrew pulled me away. Before leaving, he looked at Sarah.
And by the way, Emma is younger than you. She should call you sister, but she's just too smart and started school and work earlier than you.
Emma mustered up the energy to go to work in the afternoon. As Andrew left her company, he kept looking back, like a parent reluctantly sending their child to kindergarten. Emma couldn't help but chuckle.
Smiling, Andrew, you're so dramatic.
Grinning, just making sure you're all right.
In the afternoon, Sarah didn't come to see Emma. Perhaps her goal had been achieved, or maybe Andrew's comment about being younger than her made her too embarrassed. As expected, Andrew was waiting downstairs when Emma got off work. David stood next to him, looking weary as he watched her walk down.
Horse, Emma, we need to talk.
Firmly, we have nothing to talk about. A good ex should be like they never existed.
Emma didn't give David a glance and got into Andrew's car. Later, Emma called her parents to tell them about her breakup with David. They were quite pleased. Within a week, almost everyone in their circle knew about the breakup.
Sighing, perhaps my previous obsession with David was too obvious.
Nearly everyone who knew Emma sent messages or called to ask about it. Annoyed, she turned off her phone and switched to working from home. After her parents understood the situation, they reassured her that they would handle everything. David frantically called Emma, but she didn't answer any of his calls. Until one day, David showed up at Emma's house, looking disheveled.
Desperate, Sarah, did you ask your dad to fire me?
Puzzled, I don't know about that. If my dad did fire you, it must be because your abilities weren't enough to make him overlook your character.
Red-faced, do you really want to ruin me?
Amused, everything you have was given by me. If you were truly capable, wouldn't you be able to find a job at another company?
Eyes bloodshot, do you think any company in the industry would hire me after being fired by your dad's company?
Andrew suddenly appeared behind David, having overheard the conversation.
Calmly, then that's your own problem. Is running to a woman to solve your issues your usual style?
With that, Andrew stepped aside and stood next to Emma, calmly closing the door.
Smiling, Sarah, let's have hot pot tonight.
Nodding slightly, that sounds nice.
Emma felt a warmth in her heart. Andrew didn't say much to comfort her, but he had been by her side these past few days. Emma and Andrew's relationship was blossoming, yet they hesitated to take the final step. One day, Andrew attended a school reunion. He assured Emma multiple times that Sarah wouldn't be there before deciding to go.
I pretended not to care, but inside, I felt a sweet sense of satisfaction.
Emma dressed elegantly and did her makeup to accompany him. However, something came up last minute.
It's fine. I'll wait for you.
After Emma finished her task, they arrived at the banquet hall entrance and heard voices from inside.
I'm so envious of you two, just like in a novel, reuniting after a breakup. Wishing you a lifetime of happiness.
Yes, you two are such a perfect match. David's new company is doing so well. You must look after us old classmates in the future.
As Emma and Andrew walked into the banquet hall, the room fell silent. Many of the people surrounding Sarah and David approached them.
I didn't know that being a homewrecker and cheating were so commendable now.
David and Sarah's faces changed instantly.
Senior, your words are too harsh. David and I got together after he broke up with Emma. Besides, we knew each other long before he was with Emma. David and I were already a couple.
The way people looked at Emma changed. Just as she was about to speak, Andrew pulled her behind him.
You knew David long before, so does that mean you could hold hands and have dinner together while he was still with Emma?
David's face darkened as he pulled Sarah away.
What's your relationship with this beautiful lady?
That depends on whether Emma is willing to give me a title.
He's my boyfriend.
Everyone started to tease them, but the sound of a breaking wine glass interrupted the moment. David had spilled his red wine all over the floor, looking at them with a grim expression, while Sarah's face didn't look much better. The gossip-loving classmates stepped in to smooth things over, and the atmosphere improved. This classmate continued chatting with Emma about gossip. Seeing that they were getting along well, Andrew told her he was going to socialize with others. Emma learned that Sarah and she had attended the same university. David had fallen in love with Sarah at first sight when they started college.
Let me tell you, the most outrageous thing is that David is allergic to beef, but he still accompanied Sarah to Les Han to eat beef hot pot. It wasn't until he collapsed after eating that Sarah found out about his allergy.
Emma was stunned, recalling a trip to Guangdong with David. She loved beef and wanted to try the famous beef hot pot in Chaos Han.
When I excitedly suggested it to David, he vetoed it, saying he was allergic to beef and didn't want to go to Chaos Han.
Emma tried to suggest other delicious options, but David was adamant about not going, so she had to give up.
It turns out that all principles can be broken for someone, just that person wasn't me.
A wave of bitterness surged in Emma's heart, not because she still had feelings for David, but because being treated so differently was hard to bear. The party buzzed with chatter when a classmate leaned in towards Emma.
Let me tell you some gossip. Sarah used to chase after Andrew when she was at her school.
Emma was completely stunned. Didn't Andrew say he didn't know Sarah before?
What do you mean?
As soon as she got to school, she had her eyes set on Andrew. She really pulled out all the stops. Wherever Andrew was, she was there too. The most outrageous thing was when she put something in his drink, but luckily, he didn't drink it.
At that moment, Andrew walked back. Emma wasn't sure how much he had heard, but she felt a bit uncomfortable.
What were you telling Emma?
Ever since Emma admitted their relationship today, Andrew seemed particularly enthusiastic.
Just talking about how Sarah used to chase you. You should explain it to your girlfriend, haha.
Emma felt even angrier after hearing that. She told the host of the party that she was leaving and walked out of the hall, with Andrew following her pitifully. When they got to the parking lot, Emma opened the driver's seat and got in, while Andrew sat in the passenger seat. His cheeks were flushed, and the usually composed Andrew was now lying softly on the seat, holding her hand and staring at her intently.
Emma, I have no memory of Sarah chasing me. Please don't be mad, okay?
Emma's heart softened immediately.
I've liked you since we were kids. I planned to confess my feelings to you once you were of age, but you had such poor judgment and went for David instead.
Watching him shake his head and softly scold her, Emma felt both sweet and amused. So, he had liked her for that long.
I really don't remember anything about Sarah. When I was abroad, many girls chased me. My only impression of her is that she was with your ex, David. That's the only reason I paid her any attention at all.
Oh, are you very proud of yourself?
Of course not. I'd rather no one liked me, as long as you would look at me.
After saying that, Andrew slowly leaned in and kissed her lips. Emma gradually responded to his kiss, wrapping her arms around his waist, feeling her body grow softer. Looking at his face so close to hers, smelling the faint fragrance on him, letting the air grow hotter, letting his warm lips press against hers. He gently parted her lips, deepening the kiss. Emma was dizzy from his kiss. He unhooked her dress and explored the softness of her body with his hands. Just when she was lost in the moment, Andrew suddenly fell asleep. Emma looked at his peaceful sleeping face beside her, mumbling her name. She straightened her clothes and prepared to drive home. At that moment, someone knocked on her car window. She looked outside and saw David. I rolled down the car window and looked at him.
Is there something you need?
David gave me a deep look and spoke softly.
Can we have a proper talk?
Seeing that I was about to close the window, he hurriedly added.
Just 10 minutes. I promise I won't bother you again after this.
I thought for a moment, then nodded slightly and got out of the car.
How have you been lately?
He finally managed to ask after a long pause. I rolled my eyes and replied coldly.
If you're just here to reminisce, there's no need. Just say what you have to say.
After I left your father's company, I decided to start my own business. Your father gave me some connections and support, but the condition was that I shouldn't contact you anymore.
After a brief pause, he continued.
I want to know, was that your decision? Do you really not want to have any contact with me? Are you really with Andrew now?
I glanced at him, feeling a strange sense of disbelief. For the first time, I heard genuine concern and possessiveness in David's voice.
Yes, I'm with Andrew now. I hope you won't disturb our lives anymore.
I mocked his belated affection.
Aren't you doing well now? You're with Sarah, the one you've always wanted to be with. And you've finally gotten rid of me. I wish you both happiness.
Not wanting to say more, I got back into the car. Through the window, I saw that David's eyes were slightly red.
Would you come back if I broke up with Sarah?
No.
Belated affection is worthless. Perhaps the old me would have been overjoyed at David's concession, but now I felt nothing. After getting back into the car, I drove Andrew to my place. It wasn't that I didn't want to take him to his home, but his parents weren't around, and he usually lived alone. We had just confirmed our relationship today, so naturally, I didn't have a key to his place. I half-dragged, half-carried Andrew into my room. My parents weren't home yet, so I quickly locked the door behind us. I dropped Andrew heavily onto the bed, but the force pulled me down with him. I landed on his chest, my heart racing. One of his hands rested beside him, while the other was on my waist. I moved his hand away, making him lie on the inner part of the bed, and covered him with a blanket. Just as I was about to leave to take a shower, I heard my parents coming home. I quickly got back into bed, took off my outer clothes, and lay down next to Andrew. Feeling guilty, I covered Andrew's head with the blanket, even though I had locked the door. My parents seemed to think I was asleep since my room was dark, so they didn't come in. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, Andrew suddenly wrapped himself around me, holding me tightly. I tried to break free, but couldn't. I gave up struggling and let him hold me. Gradually, I too drifted off to sleep. The next morning, as soon as Emma opened her eyes, she saw Andrew lying next to her, shirtless. Startled, she jumped up.
Where are your clothes?
I just got up and took a shower. You don't have any of my clothes here, so this is the best I could do. Maybe next time, keep a few of my clothes around.
You need to get out.
She pushed him off the bed, her face heating up like it could fry an egg. Andrew obediently left the room, and Emma got up to find one of her dad's shirts for him to wear. After freshening up, Emma went to the kitchen and found that Andrew had made her favorite beef noodles, along with some other dishes she loved.
You drank last night. Have some milk.
Andrew smiled softly and drank the milk. Suddenly, Emma remembered something from the previous day.
You knew Sarah before, didn't you?
My dear Emma is so smart. I heard she used to be with David. Later, I heard from others that David had been in touch with her on and off over the years, so I had someone say a few good things about David around her. I didn't expect her to actually come back and shamelessly interfere in your relationship.
But a relationship that can be interfered with isn't true love. I came back for you.
Andrew patted her head.
I've loved you for so long, so when I heard there was a chance, I came running. Besides, his main reason for being with you was to covet a high position in your dad's company. I heard him making demands to your uncle before, which is why your parents didn't like him. I was always on guard, afraid he would hurt you. Even though I didn't contact you while I was abroad, I was always silently watching over you and David.
Emma's eyes welled up. Just as she had loved David, someone had been secretly and passionately loving and protecting her all along. She reached out and hugged Andrew. He seemed a bit taken aback, but hugged her back firmly. After breakfast, Andrew drove Emma to work. As they arrived at the office, they saw David waiting at the entrance.
He's been seeking me out more in the past few weeks than he did in the 5 years we were together.
Andrew and Emma ignored David and headed straight for the entrance, but he blocked their way. He staggered towards them, and as he got closer, Emma could smell the strong scent of alcohol on him. She frowned.
Emma, don't leave me.
Emma stepped back, and Andrew shielded her. She took out her phone and called Sarah.
Come down and deal with your personal matters.
Sarah quickly came down, and Emma gestured towards David.
Take care of your boyfriend.
Sarah tried to help David up, but he pushed her away and fell to the ground, crawling a bit towards Emma. He looked up at her, pleading.
Emma, I miss you so much. Can you come back? I now realize who truly loves me. I now know that the one I truly love has always been you. Can you come back to me?
Sarah's face grew darker. She angrily pulled David up, her expression filled with resentment. She looked at Emma.
He's been distracted when he's with me lately. I think he fell in love with you while I was abroad. He just didn't realize it until now. But your current man is much better than David. You wouldn't choose him again.
It's not about who's better. It's that Andrew has always stood by my side without hesitation.
Emma tightened her grip on Andrew's hand. The next day, I heard that Sarah had resigned and returned abroad to pursue her career. David also called to tell me about his plans.
Emma, Sarah, and I have broken up. I'm leaving the city to seek opportunities elsewhere.
I had come to terms with everything and wished him all the best.
I wish you happiness, David.
After a long silence, he finally replied.
I wish you happiness too, Emma.
I also resigned from my job, having accumulated enough experience. I decided to return to my family's company and gradually learn to manage it. Everything was falling into place.
Andrew, our relationship is becoming more stable.
After being together for 2 years, Andrew began frequently proposing to me. I accepted on his 3rd attempt.
Help me with the zipper on this wedding dress.
Andrew said as he accompanied me to the bridal shop for a fitting. After deciding to get married, I spent over 2 months just trying on dresses. Seeing my indecision, Andrew opened a bridal shop himself, selecting wedding dresses from all over the world for me to choose from. Andrew came into the fitting room and helped me with the zipper from behind. But halfway through, he slowly unzipped it again.
Emma, you are breathtaking.
He pressed my hands against the wall and swiftly kissed my lips, skillfully parting my teeth and deepening the kiss. Without the support of the zipper, my dress began to slip from my shoulders. The kiss left me feeling weak, and I instinctively kissed him back. He released my hands and slid them down to my waist.
Let's try on the dress first, and kiss later.
He let go of my waist, zipped up the back of my dress, and held my hand tightly.
Emma, you look beautiful. Please choose a dress soon. I can't wait to marry you.
No way. I need to pick the most beautiful one.
When we got married, I didn't invite David. However, he somehow found out the location of our wedding and showed up uninvited. Andrew was quite displeased and wanted to send him away.
What is he doing here?
But David just handed us a large red envelope and toasted us a few times before leaving. After he left, I discovered that the envelope was unusually large, likely containing his savings over the years.
I need to contact him to return this.
I tried to contact him, but he told me it was the money he had earned while we were together and hoped it could serve as compensation.
It's my way of making up for everything, Emma. Keep it safe for me.
I didn't insist on returning it.
I'll keep it safe for you, David. You can come to retrieve it anytime.
He didn't respond, and we never contacted each other again. Andrew and I raised our glasses, accepting everyone's blessings. The entire